Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
We today are going to talk about something that pretty much all of us need to hear, and that is what I call the art of letting go. Let go of the things that don't support you, don't serve you, or a relationship that you just are attached to and you know it's not good. You know it's not healthy. Let it go. What was that song from? It was a movie,
Frozen.
Disney. Thank you. Let it go.
Frozen.
Let it go.
It's my theme song.
She is somebody that deals in this, helping people all the time, especially the emotional part, the energy part. But what I find the most interesting part of all of this is she's a professional organizer, but attaches our attachments and all of that stuff that we deal with to why we're disorganized and why we're cluttered. It's not because we're slobs. It's because we got stuff going on, and she helps purge that and clear that and make us realize what's going on, including letting it go. Emily Guderian joins us once again. How's it going?
It's going great, Steve. It's nice to see you. Thank you.
You too. Yeah, it's not easy to let go, especially when you've
Mm-mm.
got, well, an attachment to something physical, objects. Hard to let that go. Hard to let people go. Um, Sometimes you have a fear of being alone. So there's people in your life that you're afraid to let go of. Why do we not let go?
I think it's because we're kind of hardwired to resist change, even the changes that bring about the better good for us, or things that are in our best interest. We're just kind of, I don't know, hardwired to resist change.
Hmm.
Maybe that's the human condition. I don't know. I do the same thing. I hear change, and my instant response is to dig in, and just a little bit of resistance there.
Yeah, right away. It's not something that it's not a knee-jerk
Mm-mm.
reaction when it comes to something that requires change. Right away, it's like boop, brakes go on,
Right.
whatever it is. Think for a second, do I really want to do that? Do I really want to make that change? And a lot of times we process it, the logic comes in, and then we're like, nah, I'm not going to deal with it. I'm going to put that aside for a sec because we're uncomfortable with the change.
Right. And that's, I think, the root is nobody wants to be uncomfortable. Nobody wants pain. Again, that's a human hardwire where we will shrink from pain. And
Hmm.
change triggers that whole pain conversation. And yeah, we're scrambling. We're not hanging out for that.
So I want to share something with you. It's personal, going to be
Yeah.
transparent. I have a friend I've known since I was 17. She's a therapist, and she's like the sage in my life. I have a question. I just text her like, "How do I handle this? What do you think?" I got to send a challenging text, personal. How would you phrase it? Dealing with my kids and all of that. I never realized it until today. You remind me of her. Her hair is the same. Her
Thank you.
face is the same. She's older than you. Um, she's an Aries, like you.
Hey, that's all
Okay.
right.
The reason I'm bringing this all up is there was a point in my life about 3 years ago where she said to me, this is letting go. That's why I'm bringing this up. Those people in your life don't serve you anymore. And I just couldn't process that. It felt dirty. It made me feel like if I accept that notion that I am like the king on the hill, be gone with you. You don't serve me anymore. Go away. But then I thought about it and I realized that life changes. And there was a group of people that they don't serve my life. I don't serve theirs. It's time to let go. And I did happily once I realized
Right.
that the connection there shouldn't have been there. Um, it wasn't easy. I'll just say that much. It wasn't easy because I was
No,
very close to them, almost like family. Family.
that's always hard to do. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. And
Hmm.
I've had some of the similar things go on in my own life as well.
Yeah.
But what's really interesting is how we, and it's not just you, it's me, it's how we like make ourselves wrong for needing to make those changes. So for like you know, I banish you. I no longer want to have these conversations or this affinity or closeness, but it doesn't have to be like that. I mean, that relationship may no longer serve you, but we don't have to cast that person out in anger. We don't have to reject. We just simply thank you for what we did have. Thank you for how you did serve me. I mean, you're not having this conversation directly with this person, but that's what you can feel for yourself. Thank you for what you did provide at that time with that version of myself. And it's
Mm.
time for me to do something different. You know, I mean, there's no casting out. It's just moving on in love, I guess. But
Sort of
it's
like
so funny how we just like have to cast them out.
well, if you do need to sever,
Hmm.
do it in such a way where it comes from a place of love and gratitude. Like you
Right.
said, thank you for the time we had together. I wish you well. There's nothing ill there. Things have changed, and now we're making changes. And whether you
Right.
speak to them ever again, at least it was left in your mind on a positive note. They may be looking at it for whatever the circumstances may be, like you miserable. You don't really
Right.
care because
And
now you know.
they're gonna take it how they take it. But it's so interesting how your mind and mine, like I'm doing the same thing here, how our minds immediately go to the making yourself wrong for entering into that change agreement. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Fascinating.
once
That's
you get,
the logic mind.
by the way, I don't know if you can see that's my friend. She has glasses
Oh
on.
my word.
It's
Oh
like,
my word. I
and
do.
she's older than you. I'm not even gonna make this up. This is the universe.
You're a
And again,
doppelganger.
and
That's awesome.
when's your birthday?
And the end of
April.
March, March 28th.
Okay, she's April 11th. Doesn't matter, Aries. Once you make that change, it's easier to do it in the future. Do it again
Yes.
if you need
Right. It's
to.
like a
I'm not
muscle.
right. I'm not saying it's like, well, I feel better now. You you can go now. You can go now. No, I'm not talking about that. If it
Right.
doesn't support you, and you know, I think we all know, even in relationships that we're in now, there's usually a reason why you're hanging on, and you know
Mhm.
why you're hanging on.
Yeah.
At least I think when you start doing a little soul searching, you kind of know why you're doing it.
Yeah, I'm doing some things, making some changes for myself personally. It's really interesting to me what a little quietness, a little meditation, a little mindfulness will bring to the front and center. When you say you may say that you don't, but if you can quiet yourself down, oh, all of that stuff's coming to the forefront. You're going to have a lot more awareness of what's really going on than you think. It's funny how the logical mind will shut things down. I've noticed for myself, like the most positive changes are the ones that are counterintuitive. And then there's almost like a pattern in that.
Explain that.
So I don't know. Let's talk about job changes or career changes. I have a husband. We've been together for a really long time, and he has a good career. Um, Out of the blue, one day we just decided to not have that career. He just decided that he was done. He had been there for 20 years. It's a great company, Fortune 100 company, and he just decided to leave it. And we had nothing else to go to at that time. It was just time to go. That's counterintuitive. Like the family was all, "What are you doing? You have nothing else lined up." And yet both of us understood in a way that you can't really explain that it was time to go. It was just time to go. Now, as the story bears out, there was another job and we landed on it in beautiful timing, but that was the counterintuitive move. But it
Mm.
was the change that was in our best and highest interest. So sometimes those things that move you are the things that don't really check all the logic boxes.
Oh, I got it. I did the same exact thing.
Most people do. So what was yours?
It was the second job I had. The first one lasted 4 months, and then I moved on to this job, all radio. I hit it big, like the biggest station in New York. I
That's
was
awesome.
barely even 18. I stayed
No
there
way. Oh my gosh.
I'm not
Okay.
kidding. Stayed there 26 years. They had started making some changes. I did a morning show and it was very successful. I'm humble, but I don't normally say that. It was really successful. They were making changes. They wanted it to go in a rude and crude direction. That's not me. I'm not doing that. And things started changing. And I got to they offered me a job in another state nearby, just didn't seem right. And I thought about it and thought about it, looked at the options, and I knew the end was coming, that I should move on. And I woke up on a Monday and I walked in and said, Wednesday will be my last day.
Wednesday.
I had
2 days
nothing.
later.
Yeah. I had no job
Incredible.
lined up. I had nothing. I did get severance because I was there a while. It was it was scary. I'm not going to
Yeah.
lie. But from that point, I partnered with somebody, opened a marketing company. Bad partnership, but I learned a lot. So I continued, still do it to the day. This is, decade and a half plus later. And you believe in things that happen for a reason. I left that job in July, mid-July. I found out a month later that my then 8-month-old son needed major skull surgery. And I needed to find a doctor within a few weeks who's going to cut his head open and peel it apart and put it back together. And if I was still working, there's no way I could have processed that. I was going appointment after appointment after appointment. Who am I going to pick? What doctor is going to do this? It was just a whirlwind. And I believe that it happened for a reason. That,
Yeah.
and I shared
Wow.
this with somebody I'm close with last night. Funny, we're talking about this.
Yeah. No kidding.
She left her job for some surgery, doesn't like her job. She's only been there a year, just not a good culture. And I get it. It's not. Um, Her father's in the hospital now. And there's been some complications and things. And she's just like, I don't even know what to do.
Yeah.
I'm like, I said, it's going to be okay. And by the way, be thankful that you're not still working because how would you even do all of that? Worrying. And her mother has physical challenges. Dad would take care of it. Now he's in the hospital. He's got physical challenges, knees, blah, 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 and all that. I said, it happens for a reason. There is a reason. And there was a reason for your husband to move
Yeah.
on, and bigger and better things were just waiting around the
Right.
corner.
That
Do
was
you?
the next level up. But we're kind of programmed to not listen to that little voice, that
Ah,
illogical push to do something. I
um,
don't know why.
yeah,
Well,
yeah,
because
because
it's hard.
it's scary. It's
It was
change.
scary.
What?
We had just adopted a daughter. So we had gone from a family of 4 to a family of 5 and then no job. We're like, we could dig ditches. I could go work at a grocery store. I mean,
Yeah.
we were thinking of all the things that we could do. And then usually, and it happens, I don't know for you, like at the last possible moment, something wonderful opens up. And that's what happened. Like
Mm,
at the
yeah.
11th hour. Oh, there it
By the
is.
way,
Well,
by
I
the
was
way,
waiting on that.
you just reminded me. I just did a house renovation, so now I was in debt. So
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
just did a house renovation, then I left that job. But this all being said, it's a cliche, but I wonder if you subscribe to it. When one door closes, another opens, and or do you need to close that door for another one to open?
I think so. I
I think
think you
so too.
do.
Yeah.
I think that's to take it away from religion, I think it's that faith, that willingness to surrender what you know, what you want, this whole illusion of control. In that surrender, that's when like everything opens up.
Yeah, it's almost like the universe, whatever you want to believe in, can't give you something else because you're holding this right here. So there's no space. It's somebody told me recently that when there's a void or an opening, it's always got to be filled. The universe will always fill it up with something. But
But nature abhors a vacuum, or something. That's
something
one of
like
the
that.
little,
Yeah.
maxims I've heard.
So you're in, let's say, a relationship that, yeah, it's all right, but it's really, it's not the best one for you. And you just hang on because either you don't want to be lonely, there's physical reasons, whatever it is, you still hold on to it. But the love of your life ain't coming anytime soon in your life. because you're holding on to it. Same thing with a job. Same thing with that job.
Yeah.
You, how would your husband have gotten that other job, which was leveled up, if you held on to it? When I left that position after 26 years, somebody said to me, because I was like, what are you doing? I was on the phone crying to him. It's like, what am I
Well,
going to do
yeah, for
now?
sure. I
Like,
don't
how
blame
am I
you.
going to support my family? And he said, and he's famous for what he does, very intuitive. And he said, when you're at your lowest point, that's when you are the most humble. And I sat with that a little while. And like you said before, when things quiet down, then you can hear, receive, process, understand all of that. Um, that was riding high on, but like your husband, everything's great, everything's great. And I'm leaving. And then all of a sudden, now you're down here. So now you're open to receive. What was to come
Right.
next?
Well, and I think, and we were talking about Dr. David Hawkins. I'm a fan of his work, but he talks about how humility is required to receive. And
Hmm.
I believe that the universe is abundant. And I believe in that law of abundance. But when that abundance doesn't happen to us personally, then you have to look at what am I willing to receive or what am I unwilling to receive. And so that humility is like a precursor to this willingness to receive the abundance that's out there.
When you say unwilling to receive, what do you mean?
Um, well, the logical mind. This is the relationship that I've had. I've invested so much time in this. This is going to be damaging to the children. All of these logical reasons that we insert on why this needs to continue in this way, instead of surrendering yourself to not being in control, surrendering yourself to pain, which, absolutely is part of relationships. That being willing to be uncomfortable in that way allows the abundance to be received.
Hmm. And when you say relationship, it could be with anything. It could be a
Right.
relationship to a job.
Yeah. And we have relationships to everything, like you said, to people, to careers, to personality traits, even.
Oh, I never
So
thought of
this will
that
blow
one.
your mind. Like, how much of your personality is really that true part of yourself versus how much of your personality is your programming or what you're unwilling to let go. So for myself, I played sports when I was younger and I was competitive, and I described myself as a competitive person. Like, that's just my personality. But the truth is, that's not my personality at all, at least not that true part of myself. That was some conversation that I had in my mind about having to be right, having to win, having to dominate, having to validate myself through achievement. As I was started to peel back the layers of that whole competitive side of me just kind of softened
Hmm.
a lot. Now, I don't know, maybe it's still there. I'm still peeling back layers as it were, but
Sure.
yeah, so I describe myself as competitive, but that was just, my pride.
Interesting. I did a strength assessment test, 34 um, strengths in this test.
Yeah.
And, I don't know if I told you about it. Number one was communication. Number two is empathy. Um, and at the bottom, like the bottom five, was competitiveness. This is just a
Oh,
few weeks.
really?
This is a few weeks ago, and I looked at it, and it was almost like I was deflated. Like, I'm not competitive, really. I'm not. Come on, seriously. But the more I think about it, I don't want to compete. That's really not me.
Yeah,
I want wins along the way, but I
sure.
don't really want to compete. So I believe it. I didn't want to accept it, but I believe it's right.
Right, because it puts competitiveness at its root. It's putting somebody below. It's positionality. It's like you have to dominate, you have to validate yourself, and in order to do that, you have to diminish somebody else.
Yeah.
It's really not, I mean, a lot of us exhibit, competitiveness in different ways, but I think there's a better way, an
Hmm.
easier way for the soul, at least.
So this is your life's work and your passion.
Yeah.
And like you said, peeling back the layers, I believe we'll be doing that to the last day of our lives.
That's
If
our
you
humanity. Like I never want to lose that. When I run out of layers, then that's my
you
humanity gone.
you ran out of time
Right.
when you
Right.
ran out of layers. Would you
Perfectly imperfect. That's my
right?
humanity.
Absolutely. Would you say that you are a radically different person today than you were, say, 5 years ago?
Absolutely.
Same.
Absolutely. And it is the thing that made it was kind of the catalyst for an enormous amount of personal change is what I call the forgiveness tool. And this is the tool I use with clients in their homes about their things, about their personal belongings and the stuff that's in their home. But when I started using it, that wasn't in my mind. I was using that forgiveness tool for my own stuff, for my own pain points or pinch points, as I call it.
When you say forgiveness tool, is that part of the, and we're running out of time, is that part of the muscle testing that we were planning to do?
Yeah, yeah, it is. It's connected to the muscle testing. And I say forgiveness, and a lot of people will hear that word and think religion, but it is more about there's no offense, there's no debt, there's no fault. Um, Forgiveness is just freely giving. It is release, it's letting go. And so that's the word, that's just the name of the tool, but it is surrender, a willingness to let something go.
We have like a minute or two left. Is there
Okay.
not enough time to demonstrate that, or should we plan for next time? And we're starting with muscle testing.
There's a couple of ways that I use muscle testing for clients. We can talk about one of those ways, and I know we've talked about it before. Actually, we'll talk about that one next time. The one that I haven't talked about is kind of a sway test, and it's based on the same principle about muscles being strong in the presence of truth or that which promotes the best and highest interest. So, what you can do is just stand with your feet shoulders width apart, hold an item, kind of hold it to your heart or to your solar plexus, and just stand and be still. If you sway forward or kind of rock and roll forward, that's a strong response. So that item probably would be a good thing for you to keep. If you're holding it and you kind of fall back or rock backward, that's a weak response. And then perhaps that item is not in your best or highest interest to keep. So that's one of the
Hmm.
ways I use muscle testing for things in people's homes.
How do you
There's
translate
one.
that to I want an answer. All right, person doesn't serve me anymore. Should I just end this relationship? Yeah, I'm hypothetical here. Is that also where you get a baseline and you say your name and then see which way you sway, and that
Yeah.
determines which way is the yes way or the truth way?
Right. And sometimes it's all about the integrity of the question. So sometimes a big question like that needs to be broken down into smaller questions because you're asking yes and no questions. So you kind of use the smaller questions to kind of calibrate. And so instead of asking, is this person in my best or highest interest? Because perhaps even though there's conflict, it could be in your best and highest interest. You can ask other questions. Do I need to look at my own resentment? Do I need to look at my own unwillingness or, questions along those lines?
You just got into the territory where I hire you. Because seriously, I've tried doing the sway test. I think I've gotten reasonably okay results, but when it comes to these deeper questions to really get the answer, we don't think that way. We don't think that way, especially when it's your situation.
Yeah. Yeah. We all have our own blind spots, which is why I have people that help me as well.
Yeah, oh, there you go. Fascinating talking with you. It's
I enjoy this. I love this. I love the directions our conversations go.
yeah, it's just it's and I have there are people in my life that I that there's needs to be a change. I'm not even kidding. And I believe
Me
the
too.
universe does it for you. Last week I started talking with a gentleman out of nowhere. I was at a birthday party. He was the owner of the restaurant. He was sitting at the end and he was just some random dude. I started talking. His story was identical to mine.
No
And
way.
and he basically gave me a little push in terms of letting go. I'm not even kidding. And I was like, I can't believe I was like 75% there. You're my 25%. I got to text them and just thank them, for
So that I call that the law of witnesses. If you're hearing it in more than one place or even two places, then it's something to take a look at for yourself.
Oh, it's like the universe is saying, hello
Neon
there.
lights.
Yeah,
There
right.
you go.
Yeah. Pay attention.
There is freedom in letting go. That I can promise.
There is freedom within and there's freedom without.
For sure.
Great talking with you. How do we find you? What's your website?
My website is builttobevisible.com. I'm also on the socials at Built to Be Visible, Instagram and Facebook for now. And I'm looking to expand into Pinterest and TikTok and all of this other stuff. But that's the easy place to find me now.
Cool. Next time we get together,
yeah,
could we go deeper into muscle testing, different techniques and all of that?
I'd like that. That'd be fun.
Yeah, that'd be cool. All right. Looking forward to it. Thanks again.
Sounds good. Thank you, Steve.
We're coming right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, I mean, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.